everybody, I'm so excited to come back with another edition of our amazing podcast, and this morning I have been in such an incredible and privileged position to walk around Holmer Green Infant School in Buckinghamshire. I'm now with their head teacher, Gillian Jones, who I have so much respect for this lady, the work she's put into the school, the journey that they've been on and where they are now is outstanding, and I really wish that everybody could come and see what I've seen today. But we're going to break it down a little bit. We're going to talk about that journey, why continuous provision has been such an important part to this school, and how you guys can do the same as well, and why it's needed for our children. So Gillian, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit more, and anything you'd like to add? I don't know you.
So I'm Gillian Jones. I am the head teacher of Holmer Green First School. I've worked here for 14 years. I was a deputy head teacher before becoming the head, and I've been the head teacher here for about 7.5 years.
Amazing. And when did your continuous provision journey start?
So we started our journey just before COVID. We recognised there was a need to support the children coming from early years with transition. So just before COVID in year one, we would have boxes of toys in the classroom so that when the children came up in the autumn term, they could access the toys while still having the teaching activities in the classroom. But we didn't really feel like we were doing it properly. We felt like we were dipping our toe into the water and we weren't really giving the children play properly or teaching them properly. And then COVID hit and we went into lockdown, and then after that we reviewed everything and then went for it.
And what have the results been like since then? Have you looked back, or are you like so glad you took this?
No, absolutely, so glad. The way that we organised it was that we spent 18 months putting it into year one, and we made sure that it was right in year one, and we reflected and we reviewed and we tweaked it. And then once we had it right in year one, we moved into year two, and we spent 6 months in year two changing things around, moving the environment and making sure that it would work in year two, and that there was challenge there for the children and that there was progression there across the school. And then as soon as we knew that we had it right in year two, we went for it in year two as well. And there's no regrets whatsoever. We look back and think, can't believe that the children would sit for 6 hours a day writing in an exercise book, or that we'd spend copious amounts of time at the weekend marking books for the children who weren't able to read it, or making them sit and respond to marking. So the impact it's had on the children and the staff has been enormous, so definitely worth doing.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of your data, for those people that like to crunch data, is it significantly improved? Where are you at with that?
So we are very lucky, we have fantastic data. So we run continuous provision from preschool right through to year two. So our data at the end of early years is always excellent, it's always above the local authority and above national. Year one phonics is above local authority and above national, and year two phonics as well. And then when we were submitting Key Stage 1 data, that was always above local and above national too. So our data is very good. But obviously it impacts our children in other ways, not just from the point of view of maths scores and English scores. So the children's resilience, their problem solving, the ability for them to work together as teams, it's had a huge impact on their pastoral skills. It's had a massive impact on the relationships the children have with staff, the children's well-being, how happy they are to come into school in the morning, and the behaviour across the school is just fantastic. You've seen this morning how calm the classrooms are, how engaged the children are, and it's because they're following their own interests in their play.
Honestly, it is amazing, and I loved what you told me first thing this morning, that the children, they want to come in the building, they'll be banging at the door.
They do.
Mrs. Jones, let me in, like how... that is what we want. We want children to develop. We talk about children developing a love of learning and their education, but for them to truly develop that love of learning, it has to be intrinsic. They have to have that. They have to learn the skills to be able to learn,
Absolutely.
Not just to soak up. And I have seen in an abundance those skills being developed from nursery all the way up to year two. And the progress and the difference in the skills that children are learning, but it's been really beautiful to see, the beginning of it and seeing the skilled staff working with the children when they're in year 2, like they're flourishing and they're just there, they know where to grab, the enthusiasm with which they talk about their learning as well. It's just so powerful, and with the petition, with the campaign, that's what we want to instill for all children. To me, it just doesn't make sense how your children get that, and like you were saying before, another child 10 minutes down the road could be spending their day 6 hours sat at a desk all day. I think one of the things that leaders perhaps find difficult is going for it. How did you overcome that as a leader, or what advice would you give to anybody to be like, I know it's scary, but it's the best thing, you can do it?
So I think it's what you've said really is what's best for the children, what's best for your children. So when we started it in year 1, the year 1 leader, she was quite keen on play and play-based learning, and I had already completed a master's degree and my dissertation was on play-based learning, so I already had that research as well. So the two of us worked together to put it into year 1, and all of the year 1 staff could see the benefits of it, so they were very much on board and they were very supportive. And because this was just as we come out of lockdown, the children really needed this. They missed their time in reception, they needed that time to play, to speak to one another, and to play with toys and communicate and team building opportunities, etc. So when we put it into year 1, it was very successful, it worked really well. We tweaked it and changed it depending on our reflections. And then we paused and we had a discussion as a senior team of why wasn't it in year 2? If the majority of our school, 3 out of 4 classes have it, why wouldn't we have it in year 2? And we couldn't come up with a reason why we wouldn't have it in year 2, because if we say as a school that children learn best through play and that actually they need hands-on practical experiences, they need to follow their interests, why are year 2 sitting at a table for 6 hours a day? So it was a bit scary, and we were told not to go for it because our data was really good at the end of year 2 and there were concerns that it might ruin our data. We were told that we were in the Ofsted window and we shouldn't go for it, because if Ofsted come in and we're midway through transitioning into continuous provision in year 2, that would be marked against us. But we did, because it was what was best for the children and we could see the impact that it had on the children in year 1 in reception. So we did go for it, and it was the best thing that we did.
Amazing. And what happened when Ofsted came? Did they comment on the provision in particular, or?
So the Ofsted inspector was really lovely. As I said, we just started setting it up in year 2. I think we were about maybe 7 or 8 months into putting it in year 2. But because we had it across the school, we had a model that we were able to use and add that progression in. So he was really lovely, and he obviously said that Ofsted don't comment on the pedagogy and how you deliver your curriculum, so he wasn't able to comment on that. I glued myself to his side so I could explain all of the learning that was taking place, because if you are not used to that delivery of the curriculum, you might miss things that are happening in the classroom. So I stayed with him and I explained it, and he was really lovely. He spoke very highly of the school, and he was happy with what he saw in the continuous provision, and there were no problems. There was no reason for us to change anything, and he wasn't unhappy with what he saw, which was fantastic, because we were still on that year 2 journey and already we had been told that we were doing a good job.
I love what you said to me earlier when we were walking around about the curriculum is covered, and then your children essentially access their own curriculum as well. So when people get all hung up on, have we covered that, have we done this curriculum, have the children been taught that, you actually miss the entire child-centred own curriculum that they kind of develop themselves, and I thought that was really powerful.
Absolutely, and that's such a key point as well, because often when we show people around the school, they worry about the amount of work that's in exercise books, or how we evidence in the learning, are we meeting all national curriculum objectives and fulfilling statutory duties, which of course we are, because we're a school, we have to do that. But the continuous provision, as you say, gives the children the opportunity to follow their own learning, they follow their own interests, but also to rehearse and recall knowledge that they've been taught in lessons. So if they choose to go off and they make a book, or they want to write about something in a lesson that they've had previously, then obviously that's fantastic. But at the same time, you saw this morning the children that were making boats in the outside area. They haven't had any learning about that, but that's something that they've gone off and they've done together. And they're outside fishing now, looking for sharks, because that's something they're really interested in. So all that imaginative play and all that teamwork and that construction is on top of the literacy lesson that they've had this morning as well.
It's amazing. And one thing that will stick in my mind well, there's lots of things. There's two things I'm going to mention now. The first one is the mud kitchen area.
Yes.
That we saw. That was in year 1.
In reception.
In reception. And it was a mud kitchen, which we obviously get lots of times, but the mud kitchen was in essentially a pit of mud. You go into mud to go into the mud kitchen, and then what I loved on the side were the planters that had rhubarb in, that had a bit of the flowers and vegetables, whatever is in growing in, that the children can pick those to then make their own potions to use in their mud kitchen. The mud is in abundance, it's right there. You know, you see so many mud kitchens that are just on a piece of concrete that are perfect and pristine, and you're kind of like, oh, where's the mud?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mud part of the kitchen. So for me, it's that, I was saying this to you earlier, like I feel like every resource that's provided for the children has really earned its place in the environment, and it's really been there, it's purposely put there, which makes the environment so enabling for the children, dependent upon where they are. It's not just, oh, we need a mud kitchen, quick, we've got one. It's really been thought through. And in the year 2 classroom, what I really loved as well, there's 2 things here, but this one sticks in my mind, is the little girl who she came up and she showed me, she had like a stave and she created some music. So in her way, she'd written the music on there, and she was like, I'm going to play this for you. So she went over to the keyboard, put her sheet of music there, and then put the headphones on and played this music. And that learning would not have happened for her today if she'd have been told, okay, so it's 9 till 10, we're all doing English, we're all writing this at the same time, it's 10 till 11, we're all doing this maths, we're all doing this history. She's done her English, she's done her maths throughout the week through her skilled teaching, but then she has so much time to follow her own interests. Like she has been a musician, and then she's performed it, and I said to her, I was like, how do you know how to write music? Like, how, this is amazing. And she said, oh, the notes, you know, the notes are on the keys here. And it was just so incredible to see in the moment a 6-7-year-old girl feeling that confidence and feeling empowered and knowing how to utilise that environment to push her learning on further.
And that's a really lovely example as well, because as you say, sometimes music lessons can be really structured too. So it might even be in the music lesson later that week that she didn't get access to the keyboard or being able to write her own songs if it wasn't for the continuous provision.
Exactly that. It was just really, really powerful.
And if she wants to be a musician today and tomorrow she wants to be an engineer, or the following day she wants to be an artist, she can do that too.
And I love that as well, actually. On the board, it's when we were walking around, I took a photo of this, it said, what are you going to be today? And it was like scientist, musician, I can't remember what else was on there, but that thread of children can be whatever they want to be, whenever they want to be, was just amazing.
That's important, isn't it? Because then it's all child-centred.
Absolutely. I absolutely loved that. And then the boys outside as well. That was really lovely. And it was the joy, it was the enthusiasm. So, you know, we speak about, you've got your, you know, your typical boys, and science shows us that boys' brains develop differently to our girls at this age. And those boys were outside, they were building, and it was
the large scale.
Oh yeah, the large scale, like the physical development. I looked at it, I was like, I don't even know how to build that myself. Like, we forget that our children, when we allow them to be, the creativity that they have is better than we could ever imagine it to be. It was just, and I've seen that in abundance today, and it really, really was.
That's good.
So magical. So if anybody's listening to this and they're thinking, I'd like to give it a go, but just tip me over the edge, what would your 3 top tips be to, why we need continuous provision and what they should do to go for it?
Well, I think that all children deserve continuous provision. I said to you earlier that when we didn't have it, the children coming up to the next year group and saying, where's the outside area, where's the sandpit? It was quite heartbreaking, and they're only 4, 5 and 6, and research proves that actually this is the best way that children learn. So all children should have the opportunity to learn through continuous provision. I think that we've shown here that it works really well. Our academic standards show that, but also our children's pastoral development shows that as well. And as I said to you, you can't take a model and make it fit into another school, but you can take continuous provision and tweak it and amend it like we've done to make it work for your children. So I think if anyone's thinking of doing it, they should definitely go for it. They should be brave, because for us, what I said to all of our team was, if you can explain why we're doing it and we can argue why we're doing it and it's best for our children, then it's the best decision to make. And even when we were in the Ofsted window and the staff were worried, and I said to them, if we can argue why we're doing it and the impact that it's had on the rest of the school, then that's all you need. I'd also recommend that people go off and they see other schools that are doing continuous provision and they network, and we're really keen to do that and network with others and support others on their journey. And I was saying earlier about being cheeky and kind of, almost scrounging, that a lot of stuff that we've asked parents if they can donate things, we've put posts on Facebook. But I was saying earlier as well that we needed a shed for our outside area, which was really expensive and we couldn't afford it. So I reached out to a local company and they were really kind and they donated it to us. So I think sometimes you look at these beautiful classrooms on Instagram or you go around to school, it's beautiful, but actually there's lots of different ways that you can source the resources. So putting continuous provision into a school doesn't need to be really expensive.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's that there's this misconception it needs to be Pinterest worthy to be powerful or to be worthy. But I loved what you said about your Hessian boards as well. You said, I don't have these because they look nice. I have these because they're easy for my staff to adapt what's on them in the moment, for the children to be able to put things on that they're proud of. It's for the children and it's for the learning. And I think people need to strip that away. Play doesn't need to be pretty. Play is actually quite messy. If you're doing play right, it's very, very messy. But it's the best type of mess you can ever wish for. And I know I was saying to you, I was like, do they all know how to tidy up? Yeah. They're brilliant at that. They know where everything goes, and that's all part of that enabling environment that you've been able to create. So my big plea, if you're listening to this and you haven't yet, please go and send the letter to your MP, because when we go to debate, we need as many MPs on our side as we possibly can who are aware of this and will show up to talk in favour of it. So it used to be sign the petition, now it's email your MP. The ask has changed, but we don't want to stop now. We need to make this statutory for all of our children. And Gillian's school is just incredible. So if you are wanting to get in touch with Gillian, you've got an amazing Instagram page as well. Do you want to tell us what the handle for that is so people can find you?
Absolutely, it's hgfs.learning.through.play.
And you will love what you see on there just as much as what I've seen today. So thank you ever so much for having me, and keep leading the way for play-based learning, because you're doing, and your staff are just incredible. Thank you.
Thank you so much.